Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about Mars transiting the 6th house in a natal chart. Now, if your house size is average size, then Mars on average will stay in that house for about 2 months approximately, but that is only if Mars is in direct motion for the whole time of that transit. However, if your house size is larger and or Mars is in retrograde motion at any point in that transit, it will be in that house for a longer period. Well, anyway, people, first thing I look at when Mars is transiting 1/6 house, the obvious thing that stands out to me is that it could indicate at your workplace, it could be a little bit more, you might have the situation with employees might be a little bit more contentious. You might be a little bit more aggressive even, maybe a little bit more verbally combative with others there. You might really, if you've been known to be passive at your job or at your workplace and as far as how your fellow employees see you, they might be in for somewhat of a rude awakening at this point, because they may see you now during this transit at least as a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more assertive, and you're more able to speak your mind with them most likely, and might even be a little bit more confrontational. So if you've been holding back as far as saying something or confronting someone about something at your workplace, this might be the time where you basically let them, you confront them and let them know, this such and such is bothering you. This could also be a time where you need to be more prudent and more careful regarding what you're doing at work, because this transit, Mars transiting the natal 6th house, could give a little more of a propensity toward accidents at the workplace, and also be assiduous and careful when dealing with any kind of sharp objects at work. If you're like a machinist or doing something where you're using a lot of tools, and you might really need to be extra careful during this time and make sure you do whatever you can to be more careful to avoid possible injury. Now, this could also be, when you look at Mars transiting the 6th house, this could also be a time where Mars is about initiation and it's about enterprise and starting things. This might be a time where you embark perhaps on a new health regime or some kind of workout program or diet and exercise program. If you've been procrastinating on it for some time, this might be the time that you may initiate it. It could also be a time where the situations might be a little bit more contentious, perhaps with somebody in the health field, such as your medical doctor, and maybe you get into dispute with him or her over something regarding some health issue. This could also be a time where maybe you might, Mars transiting the 6th house is the house of health, and it could indicate that you might get maybe a possible greater chance of having a fever during this time. And also, especially if Mars at some point is making an inconjunct aspect to your Ascendant, I think that's important as well. I think this could increase the chance perhaps of some kind of sickness during this time. Now, when you look at this placement, that Mars transiting the 6th house, this could be a time where the situation, when you're doing a service for others, you might really tackle these things with a little bit more aggression than usual, and be more apt to do things with this. And I think what's important too is that at work you might have more than an ample amount of energy. You might have an abundance of energy. And what you have to be really careful of during this time is to not maybe overexert yourself. You might be working more laboriously during this period, and you don't want to get to a point where you overdo it. And I think that is very essential to remember as far as this transit goes. Keep in mind, too, that Mars also is associated with sex. And it's possible if you are unattached and you're not involved with a significant other or have any intimate relationship going on now, that maybe you might meet somebody to form a sexual relationship or intimate relationship, perhaps maybe through somebody you know at work, maybe somebody connected with the health field, such as a nutritionist, a doctor, a nurse, perhaps. This could be maybe someone that's connected with exercise. It could be somebody, maybe if you belong to a gym, maybe somebody at a gym that you know. And also, it might be a period where you really put a lot of energy into just generally being more systematic, more organized, more methodical. Even if whether it's at work or home, you see something that's disheveled, you might feel more of an urge or have a more inclination to clean it up and get it more organized. Well, anyway, it's also important to look at the sign that Mars is in for whether it's the majority or the whole time of the transit to the 6th house, as this could flavor the 6th house. Let's say, for example, that Mars is in Aquarius for either the majority or the whole time of the transit to the 6th house. Well, this could indicate perhaps applying a lot of energy into doing things perhaps in an unorthodox manner, a manner that's not conventional, and maybe applying some ingenuity to it. Given the fact that it's in the 6th house, well, it could indicate perhaps you apply this maybe to your daily routine and maybe even at the place you work at. Let's take another example. Let's say that Mars is in Pisces for either the majority or the whole time of the transit to the 6th house. This could indicate perhaps there might be more energy, more emphasis put on self-sacrifice and compassion, things that you do where you're sacrificing your time perhaps for others. And in being in the 6th, it could be connected maybe with your daily routine or service you perform or at your place of work. Well, it's also important to look at the aspects that are made from this transit to your natal planets and points, as this could impact this transit. Let's say that Mars is transiting your 6th house and it's making a square, inconjunct, or opposition to your natal Mars. Well, this could be a time where your energy might feel like it might be depleted, and you might be a little bit more easily provoked and more exasperated than usual at things that someone may say. And being in the 6th, this could come out perhaps through something work-related, such as your fellow employees, which may be perhaps a source of consternation and frustration at this time. Now let's take another example. Let's say that transiting Mars in your 6th house is making a sextile or trine to your natal Jupiter. Well, this could indicate perhaps much positive, expansive, and exuberant energy, and perhaps it could be auspicious for starting new projects. And being in the 6th house, this could be something perhaps connected with your health and with your diet, perhaps, or something work related, such as perhaps maybe starting a new job or somewhere. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for Mars transiting the 6th house in a natal chart. And stay tuned next time, where I'll be dissertating and talking about Mars transiting the 7th house in a natal chart. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone. Because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.